Massachusetts.
Welcome back, War Room fans. Game 12.
Bring up the map of
Yes, it's been months. Oh, we're so excited. Game 12 is finally ready. As you can see, we have everything laid out. We are ready. So Bryce and Coach are going to play the Allies. I'm playing the Axis.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It's a balmy, like 79 right now. It's going to get up to like 81 in Dallas, which is epic considering it's been like over 100 for like 2 months down here. So we're very excited. Chip will be showing up later on this afternoon to be my partner.
Yeah, you got 2 counties there.
So
St. Paul and
the current count of the game is 7 Allied wins, 5 Axis. So this is a big game in the sense of the tally. If the Axis win, it'll be 7-6. So everything is ready. We're ready to go. Now I'm going to give you guys the lay of the land. Here's what we're doing. As all the fans of War Room know that we play with the optional rules that we've been playing since like game 3.
So ridiculous.
The defender of a territory gets to set up first or set up last on the battle board. We're also going to play with the Stalin rule. So allies cannot enter until they get up the supply lines disrupted. We're also playing with the rule that I think Bryce and I have agreed should be part of the rule set, where Japan can win if they achieve the Japanese-specific theater scenario objectives, which everybody should know by now. And then the last thing we're going to do is, based on our last video, is we are going to reverse force advantage. So on an even combat, blacks and whites do not count. You only get blacks and whites if you have force advantage on a land combat or a naval combat. Air combat is unaffected by force advantage. So that's what we're doing today. And we're getting ready to get it on. So Bryce, do you have any insights for the fans before game 12?
It's all new for me. It's going to be interesting to see how the different rules come into play.
Okay. Coach, do you have any insight? Since you haven't been here in like 3 months. But do you have any insight? Are you looking forward to it? Are you going to enjoy this game?
You betcha.
All right. So he's looking forward to it. I think he's been sitting there thinking of devious allied plans to deny my Axis victory. So we are all set up, guys, and we will be back after orders on turn 1. Okay, guys, we're back at the end of turn 1. So on the turn order chart up here, Germany bid 1, everybody else bid 0. That's how it came out. Axis went first, Allies went second. So we can see the Americans are stacking up in Canada. The first came down to stop those subs off Venezuela. Bringing out some air units. We got some convoy attacks, but Germany came out with the first with all their air power into A6, so we got a big throwdown. Up here on the Russian front, everybody just kind of reinforced. Notice Germany dumped France and Greater Germany all into Belarus, so they're all sitting up there. They got a lot of guys there. Ukraine's getting loaded up with Italians. Down here, the Italians came off just into M2. The British are loading up in M3. Everybody's kind of hanging out. That's an Italian air unit that landed in T5. So it's pretty passive on here on the Russian, on the European front. Not many combats, just all naval. Over here, notice the 75th did the obligatory come up. Got those guys coming off. Now, Japan over here loaded up into the Philippine Sea. They dumped a lot of land stacks, a lot of air stacks. They're all in the Philippines. Notice here they're coming down into Indochina. China getting aggressive, coming in, doing the typical Burma crush. I know, puts everybody asleep. It's so obligatory. Coach is going ultra aggressive here. He's playing China and Russia. So China's coming up into Peiping. He broke the pact. They're coming up into Manchuria. The Americans are just doing your obligatory coming on over strategy. We got 2 carrier fighters and 1 carrier fighter in the Solomons. Notice the Japanese are going to consolidate their naval power in P-13. So that's where we stand at the end of turn 1. And we'll go from there. Okay, guys, we're back at the end of turn 1. So we can see Japan and Russia are in labor and civil unrest. Holy moly, what caused that? Well, let's see here. America's just coming on over. You know, so they built a battleship and a CV, bunch of land units over there. The Battle of Venezuela, everybody basically whiffed. So Germany still has their subs out there. America's still tied down. We're out here, but out here in the Battle of A6, the Allies definitely got the better of that one. They killed 2 of the German strat bombers to 1 British fighter. And the Germans lost their navy. And the British lost a cruiser. Notice we're emptied out over here. But notice they're not building anything British over here. Everything's going on the other side of the map. That 112 just kind of hanging. I don't know what they're going to do. Notice Italy built just an artillery and 2 infantry. Because of this, you know, blowing up that convoy, it really did mess up their production a little bit. But the Axis are setting it up down here for the Egypt push. Notice Germany's building everything they can on this front right now. They got out there in Belarus, they got 2 8-stacks, the 72 and 48th, and a 6-stack and the 56. So they're pressing Russia right now. Notice Russia, though, has got an 8-stack and the 57th. Now down here, they did the Burma Crush. Japan now has 3 bombers and 5 fighters in Indochina with 1 infantry. They took Peiping. They broke the pact and took Manchuria. So on the opening turn, they really just took it to Japan. Because Japan's got an 8-stack in the 44 and a 6-stack in the 39. So we're going to see what happens. Where does Japan go? Are they going down to India? Are they landing on the mainland again? You know, Japan still has this navy sitting out here. They got an 8-stack in P-13. They got 2 more guys. So Japan got, you know, bloodied up on that opening turn. But where do they go? Because with all those guys in P-14, they got 3 options: Southeast Asia, Australia, or bring them back up and start invading Russia with them. Bring them up to P1 and next turn come on in. So we'll see what Japan decides. But we can see America's just in their typical turn 1, just bringing everything over. So we'll see how it plays out on turn 2. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Okay, guys, we're back at the beginning of turn 2. Russia bid 2, Germany bid 1, Japan bid 1, Italy bid 1. That's how the turn order came out. So Russia went top, European Axis went top, Japan went last. So over here, they're covering the convoy routes, but Germany moved those subs out off the East Coast. We still have our throwdown over here. Up here, the Allies did the traditional A3 stack to the rafters plan. They're coming down here on A15. The Italians are coming into Gibraltar. 1 infantry against 2 fighters. We'll see how that goes. Britain threw all in on M2. Got a lot of air power down there. We got like 2 Italians and 1 British fighter down there. So we'll see how that. Notice the Italians have loaded up Libya now, so we got an 8-stack in the 47, but like 15 units combined there. We'll see how that goes. The Germans pushed through on breaking pinning into the Caucasus with the 61st. The 57th came into the Ukraine, acting all big and butch. What is that? That's not Belarus. What is that? Bryansk is totally, we got a huge throwdown.
Well, that's Bryansk and Axis and Allies.
Ukraine, no, it's Bryansk in this too.
Yeah.
Ukraine's got a throwdown too. I mean, Leningrad. So the whole, basically, we're just duking it out. We got Italian strat bombers coming into Russia, so we're gonna have a little air war over Moscow. Down here, the Chinese decided to all of a sudden be passive. So we got a one-on-one infantry scrap in Indochina. Notice that the Japanese planes all flew out to P-13. They're coming into Hong Kong down here. They reinforced Peiping like Japan cares. They're coming into Korea. But notice down here at the bottom, pretty much, well, 80% of Japan's total combat power is off P-17. And America rallied in P-19. And not much happening on this side. So that's how it played out after turn order on turn 2. So obviously this is going to be a big situation right here. And we'll see how that all plays out going into turn 3. But that's how turn 2 orders phase ended. Okay, guys, back at the end of turn 2. So Russia went up another level. You can see the Americans are coming over. The Germans are sitting off the coast. They did nothing. Off of Venezuela, they blew up 3 subs, and we took out a cruiser. Over here, notice the Allies are kind of loading up on their air power, building a battleship and another fighter, bringing guys down to A-15. Italy took Gibraltar. Americans are sitting in A-3. Italians are building up a little bit of everything, some land, air, and some naval. But down over here, oops, got knocked over. We got the big showdown about to happen in Egypt. But on the Russian front, we noticed that the Germans broke through the Caucasus. Down here, we're pretty much well tied up with the 57th, but the Axis have more units. Russia is pretty much well toast because they took Leningrad. And the thing about it is remember guys, we decided we're going to switch up the rules. Blacks and whites don't count unless you have force advantage. If we would have played by the original rules, the 22nd wouldn't be there. It would have been a mass, just mutual destruction. So Germany would not have that armor and that infantry, and the 11th wouldn't be there. But the 11th would have survived, but there would be no land units left. But over here, the 56th and 23rd is an equal stack. The 72nd is an 8 stack. He's only got 2 guys in Moscow on the 29th, plus those fighters. So Moscow's falling next turn. India, they got 3 armor and an infantry. 3 armor and infantry. Down here, Southeast Asia is still being contested. But we got that huge stack off of Australia. Japanese brought out an 8 stack, 3 strats, 5 fighters to the Marshalls. 8 stack in Japan now. Building another 8 stack. And America is slowly coming over, doing their thing. So we'll see how it plays out on turn 3. Oh, China building 2 artillery, filling their oats. Okay, so we'll see how turn 3 plays out. Obviously, there's going to be a big conflagration down here. And we'll see how this plays out up here. Where are they going? So we'll see how it plays. Be back at the end of turn 3 orders. Okay, guys. At end of turn 3 orders, Russia bid 2, Germany and Japan bid 1. Everybody else bid 0. That's how the turn order came out. So the subs retreated A8, but the American battleships trapped them up in A8. The A3 guys all came down to A6 to pressure Germany. But notice here, they're coming into France against some Italians, which is never good for me. But they got 6 guys, 3 in each, 53 and 82nd, each have 3 against my 108. Down here, they're just doing some convoying. They're coming out into M2. So the British Navy's doubled up the Italians. We're doing the big Egypt throwdown. So it's like 12 or 13 against 8 down there. We'll see how that goes. Up here, Russia completely bailed. They just gave us Moscow, the 72nd, and that air unit flew in and whiffed. Nothing there. Still got our throwdown between the 52nd and the 23rd. And down the Ukraine, still embattled. Notice that Germany is bringing back reinforcements back to the Western Front. 96 out of India came down to the Middle East. We got our big throwdown on Southeast Asia. So all those Chinese are in French Indo, and the British are in Burma, or what is that? Siam, or Thailand in War Room. Japan came off. They're bringing an 8-stack into Eastern Australia, a 5-stack into Northern Territory. The Americans bailed out with their air units. They said, Australia's dead, so they pulled out. Notice Japan brought back their big air stack of 8, and they got an 8-stack in the 72nd out in P1. And the Americans just keep bringing it on over on this side of the map. So the Russians are in full retreat mode. Notice that they built 2 bombers. Hopefully, before they go out of the game, they can maybe do some noise over here. So we'll see what happens after combat in turn 3. Okay, guys, we're back at the end of turn 3. So here's how it all ended up. We just had a little cat fight out there in A8. Americans came in here with the British and took France. And they're building up 5 guys in there for next turn. Germany's rallying the troops in defense of Germany. They got 2 8-stacks in Poland getting ready to come in. Down here, Egypt is contested. Britain has 2 armor, but they do have some armor and stuff in the 96 coming in. Obviously, Germany took Russia. Russia is done. Moscow is gone. Still have that 1 contested territory there in Bryansk. Over here, they built their 2 Strat bombers, retreating everything up here. Contested off of Hong Kong. Southeast Asia still being contested. Japan brought everything off the Money Islands out here into P15. Australia has fallen. That's a 5-stack, I believe. And then Northern Territories has another 5-stack, and the entire Japanese Navy's there. Squaring off against the Americans, who are still coming over. Japan's got an 8-stack in the 77th, sitting out in the sea. They got another 8-stack in the 87th on Japan, building a 7-stack. So that's where we stand at the end of turn 3. So let's see how it goes on orders on turn 4. Okay, guys, we're back. Beginning turn 4. U.S. bid 4, Russia bid 2. All the Axis bid 1. So that's how the turn order came out. So here we go. They're coming over on Eastern United States. They finally trapped the subs. Americans are coming over on A7. Everything there is in G1. All these guys are all going into Italy. Now back over here, we still got all these contested zones. Down here, we still got our conflagration happening. And then we got our little showdown there. So we got some battles over here. Japan pulled their entire fleet. Everything's out in P1. They got like 18 units sitting out there, land units, 8-stack, got all the naval. They're going in to try to finish the conquest of Australia. Britain's coming up into New Guinea. So that's where we stand after orders on turn 3. So we'll see what happens. Bye. Welcome back, War Room fans, at the end of turn 3. Towel's been thrown in. It's over. So you go, what? How'd that happen? Well, Germany is contested, but the Axis have won the game. Because over here, notice that Japan's got an 8-stack and a 5-stack of naval. They got 2 8-stacks and a 2-stack out in the sea. And because we're playing with the Japan can win by taking Australia or India, one of those two, and either Alaska or Hawaii, well, notice Hawaii doesn't have really anything. The Americans are all down here in P19. And then over here, we haven't finished the turn yet, but Japan has 17 oil. So Japan will be able to go first no matter what happens and jump everybody to P3 and take Alaska. And that would happen at the end of basically turn 5. But the writing's on the wall because the way the map is written, these guys can't defend Alaska. So Bryce and Coach called it. Now, 2 things in this game. One was that, and I will just call that a tactical oversight or mistake by the Allies.
No, I forgot that Alaska was a victory.
Okay, so Bryce admits he forgot. I'm trying to give him cover saying it was a tactical oversight. No. But anyway, but that's how War Room works sometimes. I mean, I remember, I think it was game 3 when the Axis lost, but the main reason why they lost was because Germany did a tactical oversight on A6 and lost 3/4 of their army doing an invasion that never had a chance. These things happen. You know, these are games. You know, we're playing it. We're thinking 1-2 steps ahead, and we're not thinking what's going on right now. But you can see Germany's got a solid control of Russia. Now, the other thing is as we said at the beginning of the game, so I made this big brouhaha about the flip force advantage on its head. So we played by those rules this game. And I think, Bryce, wouldn't you agree? We've decided that's really not an improvement.
No.
It's not an improvement on the game. And remember when I talked about it, guys, I said, what would be one of the side effects? That greens would linger a lot longer. It'd be harder to kill blues. But if you're looking at these stacks, look down here. All that's left is armor. Over here, the 69th, bunch of armor. Down here, Italy, bunch of armor. Everything on the map is like green. Now, we moved some of these stacks around. The 36 that's not really there. We've been discussing this for a while. But the whole point is, we don't think it really made the game better.
No, I don't think it did.
No, it just convoluted the game a little bit. I think, now directly on some combats, like up here in Leningrad, we did have one combat where it would have been mutual destruction, but because we were playing the rules we were, Germany had like an armor and an artillery left. So on a lot of these individual combats, it stopped 1 or 2 mass destruction, but it definitely changed up some of them because just everybody's playing this game. You know how it goes. You roll a batch of 10. I mean, I had one combat where I rolled 28 dice and I rolled 17 blacks, whites, reds, combination where nothing's hitting. Coach was rolling for Bryce on the Allied side, and it was the same way. I mean, and we can't quantify that on the board. But it really, it made a huge difference on the game. And I think after playing it one time, actually doing an entire game doing that, we've decided that idea is off the board.
Well, we also did use the Stalin rule, and I think
Yeah.
we all agreed that the Stalin rule is a keeper.
Yeah, so, yeah, we did do the Stalin rule, and we really enjoyed that from a tactical thing, which is why America basically came crashing into G1. You know, they showed up over here in force. So, but some of that also had to do with also the game specifically. Coach, before he left, he realized he made some mistakes with Russia. He left that Bryansk zone. If you leave that nice and juicy for Germany to take, that's bad. That's really bad for Russia. If Germany can get in there, like when I went in there, didn't I have I had 2 8-stacks and a 6 went in on the initial attack. When it was all said and done, I had an 8-stack and a 4-stack left. I mean, I could break Penny and go right into Moscow. I mean, I just broke right through Bryansk. I mean, I did a war room version of a blitzkrieg attack. I just tied him down and then just rolled right into Moscow and took it. I mean, we're talking that happened on turn 3, guys. You know, this is only after turn 3. So as we can see, Japan is already basically we didn't even resolve it. It degenerated into Coach just moaning that what's the point. So it's an interesting game 12. So it moves at 7-5, allies to Axis. We did play the optional rule of invert force advantage, and we have decided to scrap that idea. And off we go. And I mean, I was telling Bryce, not tonight, but we talked about it earlier. I mean, we've had some games. I've rewatched all 11 of our previous games, and like 4 of them were all up in the air. Like the game where, the infamous game, Bryce, where you couldn't hit anything yellow, and I ended up winning as the Allies, but you should have won that game. You know, that's a toss-up game. That came down to dice. Game 3 came down to dice. I mean, we've had so many games that literally come down to dice or a bad tactical decision that switched the game. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some interesting games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've had maybe 1 or 2 games where it was just one side just rolled the other, and it didn't matter what you did.
No, I wouldn't
Whatever
say
your
that.
tactical decision was or what you're building, it didn't matter. You were just done. It does come down to dice rolling and playing the game. So, okay, guys, this is how we're going to end game 12. Axis victory. So we'll get together at some point later on and play game 13. Maybe next game we try the other optional thing we talked about. We just go back to how it's normally played, but turn 0 builds. Everybody builds on the first turn. We talked about that many videos ago, guys, where some of the guys on the forums were talking about before the game starts, everybody starts with stuff under construction, which I do think would give the Allies a little bit of an advantage, actually, over the Axis. But would you agree with that, Bryce?
Well, it certainly would help America out a lot.
Yeah, it would definitely help America. I do think it would help Britain a lot. Especially if you're playing the out-of-box rules where they're not playing like we are with the Japanese can win with the Pacific rules. Because if you're playing out-of-box rules where basically where the Axis have to take Moscow and London, and Britain can have an extra 5 guys in India at the end of turn 1, it makes it a lot more difficult for Japan to break out and go crazy. So, okay, guys, this is how we're going to end game 12, and I will talk to you later. Bye.